Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
All right.
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg never saw it coming. Not from Bill Maher, and absolutely not from Karoline Leavitt. Her face froze in disbelief, like someone had ripped the stage out from under her feet. Everyone thought it would be just another typical segment. Light questions, safe jokes, and opinions no one would remember. But in seconds, the show exploded into a full-blown war of words, and Whoopi was dead center in the blast zone. Karoline walked in like a calm storm, collected on the outside, but burning with purpose inside. She didn't flinch as she boldly called out the hypocrisy Whoopi had been hiding behind for years. Then came Bill Maher, fierce, sharp, and totally unfiltered. His sarcasm sliced through the room like a blade, and the crowd's laughter suddenly felt more like thunder than applause. He didn't just poke fun, he destroyed her arguments one by one, like knocking down a flimsy wall of cardboard. Every sentence landed with weight, and the tension only got thicker. Whoopi tried to grab the reins back, but Karoline wasn't backing down. Calm as ever, she delivered the final blow without even raising her tone. With all due respect, you don't get to decide who gets a seat at the table. The audience gasped. It felt like history was made in that instant.
To get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
The panel fell into chaos, scrambling to steer the conversation, but it was too late. The damage was done, and Bill Maher wasn't even close to finished. He came in swinging, blasting the show's hypocrisy wide open. "You preach unity, only when it benefits your side," he declared, and the entire room went dead silent. Whoopi tried to jump in, but her voice cracked under the pressure. Her hands flailed, her tone wavered, while Maher and Leavitt stood firm, unbothered and razor-sharp. Then Karoline struck with precision. "So dinner with Trump outrages you, but the constant insults from this panel don't?" Her words dropped like a hammer. The crowd exploded, half shocked, half stunned into silence. This wasn't a talk show anymore. It was a full-on takedown of a narrative no one had dared to question. Whoopi fumbled to pivot, but Maher leaned back, grinning. "What's the matter, Whoopi? Not used to a little resistance?" The air thickened as the audience let out another audible gasp. The power in the room shifted instantly. Whoopi's usual command over the table vanished, and for the first time, she looked visibly shaken. Then Karoline pulled out her ammo. Dates, names, direct quotes. She laid it all out like evidence, proving how The View twisted stories to fit their political agenda. "People aren't blind," Karoline said with icy calm. "They've watched the spin for years." The camera zoomed in on Whoopi's clenched jaw. She was livid and had nothing left to say. Joy Behar awkwardly tossed out a joke, but it flopped. The truth had shattered the room, and no one was ready to laugh it off.
Listen, take him seriously and take him literally.
I don't think that we have to. I think it would be remiss of us to not say Joe Biden knows how to do this. Yes, he knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean
He rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just.
But can I mention one thing?
What made this takedown truly explosive wasn't just the words, it was the delivery. Bill Maher and Karoline Leavitt stayed calm, crystal clear, and totally unbothered by the storm they had just ignited. Karoline leaned back, eyes fierce and locked in, and dropped one final blow. "You call it progress. We call it propaganda." The crowd roared. Gasps and cheers collided in a wave of raw energy. Whoopi tried to recover with a dramatic speech about defending democracy. But Maher wasn't buying it for a second. He lifted an eyebrow and asked coldly, "Since when does democracy mean silencing those who disagree?" The weight of that question hit the room like a thunderclap. Sunny Hostin jumped in, desperate to back up Whoopi. "It's about protecting marginalized voices," she exclaimed. But Karoline didn't flinch. She shot back instantly. "Interesting how the only voices you protect are the ones that parrot your politics." The room went cold. The audience froze in disbelief. Even the crew stood still. This wasn't part of the usual playbook, and that's exactly why no one could look away. Whoopi, clearly shaken now, pointed at Maher and accused him of normalizing dangerous people. But Maher leaned forward with a grin. "Oh, you mean like presidents you cheered for until they stopped playing your game?" Boom! Another direct strike. Then the gloves came off. Whoopi accused Maher of betraying his values for applause, but he didn't blink. "I didn't leave progress behind," he said sharply. "I walked away from the hypocrisy hiding inside it." The co-hosts were crumbling under the pressure. Karoline saw her chance and delivered the final truth with deadly calm. "It's not progress to mock faith bully parents and treat disagreement like a crime." Her voice sliced through the air, clear, cutting, and unstoppable. The View's table looked like it was cracking open, and years of cozy one-sided comfort were collapsing under the weight of truth and accountability.
Listen, nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, really gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody.
No amount of awkward laughter could cover up the meltdown happening live on air. The damage was done, and millions of viewers couldn't look away for a second. Bill Maher wasn't finished. Not even close. He turned straight to the camera and fired off a brutal truth. "We used to laugh, even when we disagreed. Now, jokes are treated like crimes." That line hit like lightning, and Whoopi felt the burn. Then Karoline stepped forward with a speech so fierce it lit up the internet. "We stopped listening because shows like this turned real debate into a scripted circus. But guess what? You don't get to write everyone's lines anymore." The crowd erupted. Backed into a corner, Whoopi snapped and accused Maher and Leavitt of spreading division. But Maher stayed cool as ever. "You're confusing disagreement with danger," he said, "and that's the real threat." The air in the room turned heavy. The whole segment spiraled out of control. Behind the scenes, producers panicked, trying to regain order, but the show wasn't a talk show anymore. It was a live implosion. Karoline's voice broke through again like a siren. "People are tired of being told what they can laugh at, talk about, or believe in." Her words echoed across the studio like a thunderclap. Whoopi rolled her eyes, hoping the crowd would clap, but it didn't happen. This time there was no applause, just silence. And that silence shook the room harder than any argument. Right before they cut to break, Maher fired off one more shot. "You don't cancel someone over a dinner guest. That's just called being an adult." And when the camera zoomed in on Whoopi's stunned face, it said everything without a word. When the show returned, the tension still hung in the air like smoke. The producers tried to mask it with fluff and celebrity chatter, but the blaze hadn't gone out. Then Karoline dropped another grenade, this time straight into the heart of their favorite word: unity. Unity doesn't mean pretending we all think the same. It means accepting differences without punishing them. Her words exploded like cannon fire.
As you know, 12 days ago, I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute.
The audience started clapping slowly, uncertain at first, but then the applause grew louder, stronger, unstoppable. The energy in the room had completely flipped. Whoopi made one more attempt to win sympathy, trying desperately to steer things back in her favor. But Karoline wasn't letting it slide. "You want respect?" she said boldly. "Then stop treating every challenger like an enemy." And just like that, the room fell silent with tension. Maher nodded instantly, backing her up with fire in his voice. "Exactly," he snapped. "You can't stand on moral high ground while shaming people into silence." His words were sharp, steady, and cut right to the core. What happened next wasn't just television, it was a cultural explosion. Social media blew up. Clips from the segment went viral in minutes. Hashtags were trending faster than producers could hit the panic button. As the show neared its end, the co-hosts sat in disbelief. They weren't guiding the conversation anymore. They were watching it unravel right in front of them. Then Karoline delivered her final blow. "America needs honest conversation, not a daytime soap dressed up as journalism. We're done being quiet." Her voice hit like a hammer, and the crowd felt every word. As the credits rolled, Whoopi sat in stunned silence. No smile, no closing line. Her silence said it all, and no excuse could undo it. Maher and Leavitt didn't just show up, they dominated. They spoke with fearless clarity, biting humor, and strength, right in a space built to drown them out. And it wasn't just Whoopi who got exposed, it was the entire illusion that The View had been selling. That so-called open dialogue? It was torn apart for the world to see. When the dust finally settled, the wreckage was undeniable. The View couldn't spin this, not when millions were already rewatching Whoopi's collapse, frame by frame. The mainstream media tried to soften it, calling it a heated debate or a passionate discussion. But nobody bought that nonsense. The truth was clear. Whoopi got cornered and had no way out. Karoline Leavitt didn't just make an appearance, she seized the stage. She walked off with the momentum, lifted by a tidal wave of online support. And her message shook the air. This age of untouchable media elites? It's finished.
The mistake really is there's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex, and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
Back on Real Time, Bill Maher returned to his seat with a sly grin. "Well," he smirked, "that was fun." The crowd erupted with laughter. They knew exactly what he meant. They had just witnessed truth slice straight through the noise. Then came the chaos behind the scenes. ABC executives rushed into a late-night emergency meeting, panicked and sweating. Insiders spilled the tea. "Tone it down. No more political disasters we can't control." Translation? They were terrified. The backlash came like a storm. Ratings took a hit. Longtime fans raised eyebrows, and whispers started flying. The show's not what it used to be. Maher and Karoline hadn't just shaken things up. They rattled the whole system. And here's the wild twist. Whoopi once boldly said, "Truth matters more than feelings." But when truth finally stepped on her stage, she ran from it like it was fire. Karoline wasn't there to argue, she was there to lead. She proved that strength doesn't come from shouting, it comes from speaking clearly, standing tall and daring to say what others are too afraid to. And Maher? He wasn't just the comedian, he was the wrecking ball. He reminded America that real comedy punches up, not down. That when you strip away fear, even the loudest bullies fall silent. Meanwhile, Whoopi became the face of everything broken in modern media. Quick to accuse, eager to silence, and completely unprepared when someone finally pushed back with facts. But this wasn't about one fiery moment. It was the breaking point after years of build-up. Years of smug jabs masked as humor, fake compassion, hiding tight control, and shutting out anyone who dared to disagree. And then, finally, someone had the guts to say, "That's enough." People didn't just watch that moment, they felt it in their bones. Something powerful shifted. The mask dropped, and for the first time in years, the tide felt like it was turning.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide.
The tidal wave of silence, shame, and scripted opinions finally hit a wall, and it shattered. The floodgates burst wide open, and for the first time in years, real voices broke through the noise. Karoline's follow-up interview set the internet ablaze. They don't get to decide who speaks anymore. That era is done. And with those words, the ground under the View began to tremble. Backlash poured in online. Even longtime fans turned. I used to love Whoopi, one viral comment read, but this was all ego, no truth. Another said it best. Leavitt brought facts. They brought feelings. That contrast echoed everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. It was unstoppable. Even mainstream news had to cover it. Karoline and Maher had become unexpected heroes in a world desperate for honesty. What made their moment hit so hard? They never backed down. No apologies, no spin. Just truth. And people loved them for it. Even comedians and late-night hosts joined in, saying Maher did the unthinkable. He walked into the lion's den and walked out stronger. And Karoline? She earned a new nickname online, The View Slayer. Suddenly, The View wasn't leading the conversation. They were on defense. Questions flew, criticism mounted, and they had no answers. In the end, Karoline Leavitt and Bill Maher didn't just win a TV segment, they ignited a cultural firestorm. A moment that proved truth still matters, and boldness can still shake the ground. And as another tense episode of The View faded to black, one thing was clear. The age of unchallenged narratives is over. And the truth? It's just getting started.